Make sure to put in some background music. And also, if I start kind of messing up, I'll make sure and say cut that, and then I'll snap to where you can't see it, I'll clap to where you can't see it on the camera. That'll be your point of sound that that'll be your point of sound to where it will identify when to kind of cut and uncut, because you'll see a large, I'll just go, or no, I'll go like something really loud there. I'll just do that. I'll just smack. League of Legends is one of my favorite video games, and honestly, I love good RPGs that you can kind of dwell into this community of sorts. I like Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is honestly one of my favorite video games. How you go into the wasteland and either the Commonwealth or Las Vegas or New Vegas, and with the new Fallout 76 coming out, it's gonna just really boost the community where you can play with your fellow dwellers. And I love League of Legends as well, because whenever I was a little bit younger, I used to play a lot of Minecraft. In Minecraft, they have their own sorts of communities. You have people doing like redstone, or building, or decorating, or they all have their specialties. And then League of Legends, you have their specialties too. They can play as tanks, or as fighters, or as assassins, or as the OP pirate lady, Miss Fortune. Me and my friends on Discord, we call her Pirate Lady because obviously she's a pirate. But there's one thing, the one champion that I first bought, and I thought I'd really like, and it was Galio. Galio is horseshit. Galio's so bad that I ended up leaving Galio for Miss Fortune. And, you know, I thought I was going to be good at tanks, but it turns out I'm not. I'm really bad at tanks. But I thought, okay, he's made out of stone, so he's probably got really high defense. He probably, he's got big old fists. He can probably hit pretty hard. And, his lore is that he doesn't like and destroys magic. So he probably won't be using many of his abilities. It's the complete opposite. I've never seen such a screw-up by... Logically, it would make a lot of sense for him to have a lot of base attack damage, and for him to not really use his abilities. Maybe use his abilities not as an attack, but more of getting out of situations or environmental stuff. So that brings us to his abilities. One of his abilities is the I'll have it on screen. It's the flying ability that he has, to where it's like a strike of justice or something. It'll be up in this corner. Now the strike, I'm just gonna call it the strike. Now the strike, you would think, see, he launches through the air with his wings apart, and he goes and he whooshes out to hit multiple enemies and do a little bit of damage. Now the problem is, it doesn't do a lot of damage. He oftentimes gets stuck in situations that he probably shouldn't be in, and it's not really an escape ability. Now you'd think using wings to fly would probably, be a good way to get out of something, get out of a situation. But no, because Galio will step back to launch forward. So whenever he steps back, it's not like he moves any more than he normally would if he's just walking. So that's messed up. Honestly, if you do use Galio, don't use that strike as getting out of there. Just use the flash or the ghost effect that you can get. And he's also got to where you can toss out a tornado, and it'll cast a little area to where it'll do damage and slow them down. Now you'd think, great, I throw out some wind, it slows them down, they can't just run out, and they'll get hit with a lot of damage. But it does like no damage. This character can't even kill squishy characters half the time. I don't understand it. Now Galio is supposed to be the knight in shining armor, the character that comes in last minute and finishes all the enemies off, and then rides into the sunset. But it turns out that Galio isn't. I mean, he doesn't do any damage, so he's not really a constant threat. And, I mean, the only reason why you'd think that is because of his last ability. His ultimate is to where he can teleport to minions or other players, and when he does, he goes in, he channels for a moment, selects a minion, on a fellow minion or a fellow player, and then launches through the air and basically teleports to them. But the problem is, you have to be fairly close to them to do that. You can't, like, be on one end of the map and do it, because if you do it on one end of the map, he will just walk. Now, what's the point? If you're just gonna walk there, why not just... And whenever he does land, blasts damage all around, but it does nothing. I've only probably had one kill doing that, and it was on accident. And when he does, he oftentimes has all of the tanks come in and just destroy him, and then you try and use his strike, but wait, it's not an escape ability. It's just... the logic and the lore and the mechanics just... they interfere with each other, So yeah, it really is irritating because I really liked Galio. I thought, okay, maybe that, intermission, too many maybes. So yeah, the lore, the mechanics, and just how he works doesn't really work. So, what else could you do? Well, maybe you could buy stuff from the shop, right? And then maybe, no, of course, it's obviously not my innate lack of skill. Yeah? She's down here! Okay! Intermission. So the mechanics and the lore don't really go together. They don't really fit. They don't work. So, what else could you do? Well, you could also try and buy from the shop. Now, the shop allows you to buy different buffs, and you can up your character. Because, of course, it's not my innate lack of skill. It's obviously the game, guys. Be right back. Mom? She was down here, all rosy and fine. And you just thought, oh, let's just rosy and fine. Okay. Sorry. Obviously cut that whole part out. So I'm gonna restart. So yeah, Galio's mechanics and his lore don't really So yeah, Galio's mechanics and his lore aren't really compatible. They don't work together. So what else could we do? Well, we could go in the shop. The shop allows you to buy different buffs for your champion. Okay, but the problem is that they don't really help you either. I've tried several different combinations. I've went on the League of Legends set of pre-made ability layouts that you can use, and nothing seems to work.